Hi everybody, I'm Hayley.
And I'm Kayli.
And today we're reviewing Heretic.
Yes. Ooh. Spooky season is over, but we're still talking about it.
It's never really over.
I also still have like my Halloween decorations up and they will never come down. No, they'll come down after Thanksgiving. Okay. Anyways, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Heretic.
Yes, we are.
Hi. Hello. I hope that you love religion because that's what we're talking about today.
Or not.
And Mormons. Oh, that's what we're talking about, really.
The poor Mormons.
Girl. But yes, so basically this movie's about Mr. Reed, aka Hugh Grant, getting into his little creepy era. I kind of loved. I was like,
he was creepy.
It wasn't like all the way convincing. There's multiple times where I'm like, Hugh, cut it out. Chill. But I think he did a great job. Anyways, it's about Hugh Grant and these two girls, Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton, and they're doing their little Mormon thing, going around being like...
Is that real? I thought only the men did that.
That I do not know.
Okay.
I myself am not a Mormon. Never been.
Continue. I'll look it up after.
So, they're doing their missionary thing. They're going to houses talking about, you want to learn, blah, 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 blah. So they get to Mr. Reed, and that's when things take a turn for the worse. Now they're stuck listening to a man explain religion for like hours at a time. And then something else happens. And that's basically the movie. So, Hayley, what'd you think about it? What did you think of this one?
I like this movie. I thought it was very thought-provoking. It was very chatty, but,
Very.
Because I guess of the, source material that we're speaking about, they're going to have a lot of conversations and in-depth theories. But, I mean, I overall liked it. I thought that it was it just makes you think a little bit because, of course, Reed has his ideas and some of those kind of make sense. And then, of course, the girls have their ideas and the thought of God and religion can make sense as well. So I think it was a good discussion. I was talking to my friend today at my coworker and he was like, I don't want to see it. He's not like super religious or anything. But he's like, I feel like a lot of movies just continuously like bash, just like super bashing religion right now. And I was like, yeah. Religion? And I was like, I don't know if that's what this movie was. I don't like. I obviously Hugh Grant's Mr. Reed went in, but
did.
I mean, I didn't get the sense that the movie itself was trying to tell you one thing or the other.
What was right or what was wrong.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah. So I don't think that it was one of those where it's just like all bashing, but I definitely think it was giving points to a lot of good things, and I think Reed was technically right about a lot of stuff. But yeah, I just overall thought it was really thought provoking, and I kind of didn't know what was happening. It was very confusing, and then kind of the reveal at the end. I thought it was entertaining, so I thought it was really well acted.
Yeah. Yep.
The girls did a good job. I think Hugh Grant did a good job about being super creepy and like, just come on in. You're
girls, my wife's in the other room.
After like the second time.
I would have gone. I would have left.
Burn the place up.
Yep.
But yeah, and an interesting take on being held captive because they didn't have to do anything.
Right.
But they did. You know what I mean? Like it's that thing of where usually they're being, they'll help.
Help me.
They're held down or they're tied up or they're forced to do this or that. But he didn't have any weapons.
And he kept saying, you can leave anytime.
He's like, you can leave.
I mean, it wasn't true, but he said you could go.
But he was not wrong. Like he was not at all like holding him back. Not that like this is supposed to be like on his side, but it was just interesting because
I'm just kidding.
Team Mr. Reed. But it was that thing of just that psychological. He told them they have to go through the doors. So they did pick one because he said that's the only way out. So it's the only way out.
Yeah.
And that was kind of his point. It was just, but what about you? What are your thoughts?
I also really enjoyed this movie. I think sometimes it was giving vibes of, I don't know if you've seen them, but there's like these debates of these like older men going to college campuses and debating children.
Like, what is it? Change My Mind?
Yes, exactly.
That one, and there's some other ones where,
It's giving that a little bit. Like he's like, I've been studying religion for the past 30 years. Who would be my perfect rivals? 2 20-year-olds.
2 young girls. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. So that's the only thing that I got the vibe of sometimes. Yes. And I feel like this movie would also benefit from a rewatch, and especially for me with captions. Because I feel like there's a lot of information being spewed and there wasn't enough time for me to catch everything.
Before he got to the next thought.
Exactly. So I think it would be fun to rewatch it. I say there is a strong point in this movie, and I think that's the very beginning, like before they go down into the cellar basement. After that, it gets a little weird. There's a part where I was like, girl, what are we talking about? And then it ended, and I was like, okay. So that's my opinion of it in totality. But what I'm actually interested in as well, I know we're not currently in the church.
No.
Not to put us on blast.
I'm not registered anywhere. What is it? You have to join officially. They make you fill out the form to become an official member.
Yeah.
I'm unmembered.
I'm also unmembered. I did not grow up in the church, so I'm very much on like the outside view and trying to figure out what I believe in, and like kind of what Mr. Reed was talking about, how like he wanted to figure out what the true religion was, and so he was going to different fast food restaurants and trying to figure out what vibed with him the most. So I was able to connect more with that perspective rather than the girls who are in the religion. And since you've been in the religion, not Mormonism, but
No.
and the religion, did you see a different side to it? Were you more connected to one side other than like versus the other, or what did you think? If you're comfortable. Jesus, putting you on blast.
Kayli, give me the choice. Oh no, I don't care. I think I saw both sides, because like obviously I can relate to the young women where this is all you've been taught, this is what you've been told, so that's what you're gonna do. Because why would anyone lie to you about this stuff? And it sounds good, right? It sounds like it would make sense. Do good things and follow the good God spirit, you're gonna be good, and you know, do the other thing, whatever. But then I also, like, as I've grown up, it's definitely a lot more questions and kind of like, what am I doing? What is this? I don't know what this is, really. And so I think I also related to Mr. Reed's character, Hugh Grant's character, Mr. Reed, because a lot of his questions are valid. Where does this all come from? Are these not all just talking about the same thing? But where did that come from? And has this been filtered by human error or greed and power hungry people? Like, so, but anyway.
But yeah, so I guess we can talk.
Can we?
Do we want to talk about the movie or like what the movie was saying? You know what I mean? Like the plot of the movie, or do we want
Let's
to talk
start the plot and then we can get into the deeper meaning. You know?
This is where I'll tell you where it lost me.
Okay.
When he was trying to sell this simulation theory, I was like, Mama, what? And then she was like, that's not true. And then ended up not being true. I was like, the fuck are we talking about?
So I was reading an article that
Please
I cannot
explain.
cite.
Oh.
Sorry.
You
It was not
refuse to?
plagiarism.
Oh.
Anyway, they were saying that what they were interpreting is that Mr. Reed chose the girl to manipulate most or more.
Yeah.
And so they were saying that he could tell that Braxton was
Neither one of them. Paxton.
Sorry, who? Barnes.
Barnes is the one who.
Barnes and Nobles.
Yes.
There we
Barnes
go.
and Nobles.
And Paxton.
Paxton.
Oh, I said Braxton.
Yeah, that's why I was like.
That'll be the duo. Anyway, they were saying that because he knew that Barnes was going to be less easily manipulated,
right?
That's when he decided to use her as the example, or, you know, kind of get rid of her. And so they were thinking that he underestimated Paxton. There we go. And so I'm wondering if he didn't think she knew what that is.
The simulation theory, or the Nexaplon in her arm?
The Nexaplon in her arm. Because
Yeah.
I don't know if I knew he knew what it was, clearly.
Yeah.
But then it seemed like he was trying, after he had resurrected the woman, I think he was thinking that she was more convinced than she really was. And so my thing was, I thought that, or from what they were saying, I was okay, maybe that could kind of make sense, is that he was going off on the ledge there. And I think that's when she was like, I think
you're mistaken.
Basically. And she's like, I'm pretty sure that's just contraceptive. And you could tell he's kind of like gauging her level of naivety. What do you want to call that?
Yep.
Naivety.
Because she did say that the woman that had resurrected gave her a little bit of a hint of like, this isn't real.
Right.
So she had it in her mind already, something's up, and wasn't fully convinced in the whole situation, which I think kind of messed it up for him. Whether or not she still would have been like, you know, under his clutches of control and, you know, whatever, I don't know. But it seemed like that gave her a head start of like, something's up here.
Right.
And then when you pull it out of her arm, he's like, look at this. And she's like, her birth control?
AI.
Yeah, I think you need to dial it back a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know if so all the women, I know we're jumping a little bit in the plot, but like, was he trying to eventually have her be one of those women?
See, that's what I'm confused on. I feel like, because I know she was like, I don't think you were expecting the prophet to like drop that hint. And so now you're just scrambling and trying to make things happen. But I don't know what his original plan was, because I don't think the I don't think the simulation theory was like a part of his original plan. I think he ran with it once he like heard it, but it was just like a weird subplot that we are going down. And I was like, what are we talking about? Just for it to end up not being true. And he's like, you were right.
Like,
if you want to know the truth, keep going. I'm like, no.
He was hurt. Yeah. Gotcha.
You got me this time.
Past level 1.
Are you ready for the final boss?
Yeah. He's crying inside like, damn, that didn't work.
Next time we'll do something different.
What else? Go through the door.
Exactly.
Girl, I would have been lost.
No.
You had me in there. You'd have put out her arm. It's simulation. I've been like, is it?
Is this real? Is
Honestly,
this not real?
Am I dead?
I think what Barnes was saying is true, that he was going to try to get them to kill themselves and make it like their own idea, basically. I think that was fun? See, that's what I'm kind of confused on, because like, did he want these girls locked up too? But I'm not really sure what his goal was. I think in the beginning there was a concrete goal of he wanted to see what these girls would do, but I feel like after we get to the basement and the prophet thing happens, I feel like we lost the plot for real.
He lost the plot.
Yeah.
In his mind.
Yeah. So I feel like it got a little weird, and then especially for like the resolution to be the main religion is control. I was like, oh, okay. And then that was it, really.
Yeah. I was gonna say human. The main religion is humans?
And he's like, close.
He's been pissed.
It's like when you're at school and you're like, is it this? I'm like, not exactly what we're looking for,
you're on
but
the way. You're getting closer.
I hate that shit. I will never say a word again.
Just tell me.
I don't want to play,
What
bitch. My friend's dead.
No, literally. I'm like, man, these women are locked in cages. What is it? You tell me.
Yeah, exactly.
Since you know so
this is
damn
your
everything.
game. Go ahead. Blah,
you
blah,
win.
blah.
You win. If you want. Was that what you want? I don't know.
Yeah. So I was reading the interview with the two directors, and they're saying that this disappointing ending was like on purpose, like it was intentional.
Yes.
Because they want it to be like
ambiguous.
Right. And they also want it to be kind of like, I guess, your own journey through religion. Like maybe you don't find exactly what you're looking for. And so it's like a little disappointing because nothing fits what your expectations are. That does make sense.
I guess I just hate, I'm so tired of ambiguous endings. I get in this context, it makes a little bit more sense because it's talking about something that nobody can prove or have, or we can never really be sure. But until,
we die.
Bye. But they're always like, it's up to the person's interpretation. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm so tired of everybody's interpretation.
I just want you to tell me. See, here it is again. Just tell me the answer.
Please,
I don't want to guess.
You're getting close. Am I? I don't know. It's up to you.
It's up to you.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I think that was my only issue with this movie is like I felt like once we got to the basement and after the prophet situation and then we get to the simulation stuff and then there's women in cages, I was like, what are we talking about anymore? What was your plan, Hugh? What are you doing, Mr. Reed?
I think he's lost a few cells
probably
in his brain. So I don't know if they're also going that route of like he's gone a little mad.
Yep.
In his obsession with finding the answer.
Right.
He has corrupted himself. Because if you think about it, a lot of these religions have started out, at least I'm going to assume, like the origin of them, like good intentions, right? Or people who really believe that they were on the journey to find XYZ and they want to write it down, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But then you find along the way, things get corrupt, things get twisted, things get turned upside down, things, people get power and this and that. So I don't know if that was supposed to be his arc of like, it starts off like he's just having a conversation. We're just going back and forth with questions. Then he's getting weird. Something's not right. And then now he's kidnapped him. And then, okay, maybe he just wants to play this weird game and we can get out of here. And then you find out that he's gone absolutely corrupted. And now he has found the religion as control. And to continue this religion of control, he is now obsessed with having people do things that he makes them do, but they think they're doing, like it's this whole thing. So I didn't know if it was like the rise and fall of like that whole thing of when you're searching for something or you think you might've found something and then really you end up being the one corrupted at the end and what you were looking for, you ended up becoming, or what is it?
Mm-hmm. No,
so I don't know if that was supposed to be it. And it was very extreme because obviously you go from like this man's house to there are women in cages who are dressed in religious robe attire and they either are truly there because they got manipulated to be there or he really kidnapped them and they're just doing whatever it is that he's telling them to do. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of both.
Maybe because I'm like, where did he find all these prophet women
Did he just like rope them into a similar conversation?
That's what I'm saying. Because the theory that I was reading in one of the articles is that he has done this before, that these are all the women and girls that he's captured from before. How no one ever noticed that all these women were missing. I don't know if he moves around or if he gets all these women from this one spot. Nobody looks for him. I don't know. But that theory didn't necessarily sit with me. I don't know. That's why I'm like, I can't tell with this movie if it just went off the deep end because they were being too ambitious with whatever they're trying to do, or if they're trying to make points in the fact that we went to the complete extreme. Because I know from at least being in the church that it can go from 0 to 100 really quick. Yeah. Like you have people who are starting off with good intentions, and then in my opinion, they end up like off their shit. Like, what are they talking about? They think that they're hearing from God. And I'm not here to say who isn't and who isn't hearing things, but sometimes I'm like, what are you talking about? Like they have gone so far. So that's why I couldn't tell if that's what we're doing here. That's what we're doing. Or like religion in general can just, because if we're being honest, religion has enslaved people. Yep. Religion. So that's why I'm like, I couldn't tell if it was a metaphor. Yeah. Of him being the negative side of religion, of control. And then the fruit of that would be the sacrifices, the tricks, the kidnapping, violence that tends to be more so against women and children. And all that other stuff under the guise of your choice, your decision. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm like, I don't know. But that's what it felt more like to me, that it was so gimmicky, so ridiculous. But if you think about religion as a whole, like that stuff happens.
That's true.
Maybe not in someone's house. Well,
right. Well,
listen, maybe not in the same way, but I'm like, it does make sense. Like you think that's actually crazy, but all these things have happened, and that's what he learned along the way. He picked up all the bad pieces of people's corruption and put it together in one home
and tested it out on two believers,
and keeps going and keeps going on and on because he wants to see who else he can manipulate. Yeah, because I guess he's decided he is the new God, the new religion. I'm going to be the one to.
I don't know if that's like, I wonder what he was really thinking, because like for him to think that, I don't know. I want to know more about his whole thought process. And like we were going through these different rooms, and I thought maybe they had some significance. Like, she went through the blue door, the red door, and whatever.
It was like the religious.
Yeah. And I was like, is there stuff that we should be picking up on? Because this is going by way too fast. So
I know. I was just like, scary. I hope she doesn't die.
Oh my God.
I'm not even paying attention. I'm like, girl, get out of there. I thought somebody else was going to pop back up alive and be behind her.
Yeah.
Because he's like, did she die? I'd be like, actually, I don't know.
He said, pick up her head. No, I don't want to. I don't want to see if she's still breathing.
What if you're just like, no.
But that's not what they're trained to do. They're supposed to be accommodating. It reminds me of Speak No Evil, the original one, where it's like they are accommodating and trying to make things, like, I guess they're like the peacekeepers, where they don't want to make things too uncomfortable, blah, blah, blah. They're trying to like just get by until they can leave. And then they end up getting taken advantage of, which is kind of what happens in this movie too, where they are trained to be polite. They are trained to be very aware of their surroundings, but not to the point where they're like being selfish or unreasonable about what they want. Mm-hmm. So, they get soda and he's like, oh, like, I forget y'all don't drink caffeine. She's like, yeah, it's okay. Like, they don't ever correct his behavior until it's too late. So rip. I do like the
rip. Anyway,
I do like the illusion of choice though. When it came, the illusion of choice, where the doors were like belief and disbelief, and he's like, "What do you think I believe in?" And or like, "Do you believe that I still have a wife, or do you believe in like religion or blah blah blah?" And it led to the same destination. But I wonder if what happened would have been different or not. Like,
if his skit would have been different.
Right. Like if they went down the disbelief door, like, so this is saying that they don't believe in God and they don't believe that he has a wife. Would a woman have come out and been like, I'm a prophet?
It would have been like a man. I don't know, been something else.
Right. Like I wonder what that was. But I like the significance of like, no matter what you believe in this world, like if you believe in God or if you don't, we're all going to end up dead.
In the same door.
Oh. So
the same cellar.
Yes, we're going to end up there. And I guess depending on what you believe happens. So I guess we can kind of talk about the Monopoly analogy, metaphor, comparison.
I think I got the most of it.
I thought it was pretty interesting where so they were like asking the writers, directors, they're like, how did you come up with this? And they've basically been like working on this movie for like 10 years. and they have always kind of like asked themselves, like, you know, what happens after we die? What's the real religion? Blah, blah, blah. And then they were writing this character of Mr. Reed, who's very knowledgeable, but they couldn't like really get into that headspace because like they were still pretty young and they didn't know anything. So it was like for them to talk like Mr. Reed, they would have to kind of do their homework. And so they did their homework, and then they like were starting to like think of comparisons. So they wanted to see what they can compare it to, and they had a whole bunch of different examples, and they landed on the Monopoly one. And they tied it in two because the first Monopoly version, which is like the landlord, was made by a woman, and then Monopoly was made by commandeering that from a man, or a man was commandeering. You get it. Yes. A man took control, as they always do.
What else is new?
So
sorry, I yelled.
I think that was also like another layer that they wanted to add on there of men screwing over women as much as possible. And then I liked what he was talking about, how it's like, you know, this one doesn't sell too well, and then we have this one that's really popular, and then we have like the newest, flashiest one, and then he's like, y'all's is like another reiteration of it. So I thought it was pretty interesting. And I can see the logic in it a little bit, not to be a naysayer, but it all seems kind of like it's the same thing until it's not.
Yeah. I mean, it's all clearly, I don't know if something did happen. I mean, it's all deriving from the same time with very similar characters. So I don't know if something did happen. People ran with it. Or because like he was also talking about the story of Jesus and how it's not unique, and that's what Christianity like bases its whole thing. It's like there's never been a person who's done these miracles and been resurrected, but then he's like, no, all these other people have too, thousands of years before Jesus. And so it's like they've always kind of believed in these stories of like somebody coming back, the hero,
yes, and you know, doing all that kind of stuff. So maybe that story was real in the capacity that all stories could be real, like all folklore could kind of be real. It's based off of something that somebody heard, and like, oh, my great grandpa did this or whatever. And then maybe it just got written down one day, and that's what we have as the Old Testament and the New Testament. And
yeah, I know that there are very similar themes in a lot of religions. You usually have like, I know when I talk to my therapist, we've talked through a lot of this. I think there's a book, what's his name? John, if I can remember it, I'll look it up and maybe you can put it down below. But it's a book about he kind of talks about the different heroes of all the religions, and usually it's a man, and usually there's some kind of sacrifice or this or that, but they're the chosen one, and then it's their rise and the fall, you know, and it's very similar across like a lot of stories and along a lot of the time. So it's like, is one of those the true story, or are these all kind of gathering pieces from each other? Because like even sometimes I think like reading the Bible, when you're reading the earlier testaments, they talk about giants. It gives very much like Greek mythology, because like there are giants and they're running the world, and the giants mate with the angels. Gets real weird. Not sure. But it's also like, you can tell it's like kind of giving some of the storylines of other religions of the area. It all seems like they are related and pulling from each other.
Yeah.
In some capacity. Whether or not one was right and all the other ones are pulling from that one, kind of like what he was saying, the OG, or I don't know.
And I guess that's the thing. We'll never know until we die. So that's exciting. Something to look forward to.
Could you imagine?
And it's still
like,
don't know
what's
you
going on.
Never know.
Like,
it's up to your interpretation.
Welcome to reincarnation number 370. I'm going to literally pass out. I better not be reincarnation.
Girl.
Don't piss me off.
It could be.
This was enough.
Was it?
Don't think I want to do this again.
But yeah, I really liked the TED Talk part of it, where he was going through his whole spiel. That's what it felt like to me. And that's something I would really like to rewatch, just to make sure I'm getting everything, because I feel like I didn't get everything that he said. He was kind of, you know, spitfire going through all these facts and stuff. I think some of the of Sister Barnes's like arguments were valid, you know, because he was like, how come Judaism isn't as popular as Christianity if it's like the original one? She's like, well, you're not accounting for the Holocaust, so there's one thing.
Also,
but I think it is interesting because like Judaism and I don't believe Islam go around like proselytizing and like trying to get people and recruiting members and everything. I don't see that in the other ones.
Yeah, and I can't speak to that because I also live in America where Christians run amok. So, and it's the other religions are kind of looked down upon. Like if a Muslim was to run around Texas trying to convert door to door, it may not go over very well. Like I don't,
Yeah.
so I don't even know if it's because I'm where I'm located. Because I feel like when I'm online, there's a lot of Muslim converts. Like I do see a lot of people who convert
Yep.
to Islam a lot online, not really like in person. So can't really speak to that. But I do feel like people who are Jewish, I feel like their religion goes pretty close in hand with ethnicity.
Yep.
So if you're not born of their people, then they don't. That's just it.
Yep.
They don't feel a need to go tell anybody about it. And I could be very, very wrong. It's just what I've gotten. Because I know like if your mother is Jewish, then you're considered Jewish. But
Right.
if your father's Jewish, that doesn't count.
Right.
Like it's through the matriarch. So it seems like they have pretty set rules on what does and does not make you Jewish. And they're very big about marrying within their Jewish culture and
yeah.
their faith. So I feel like it goes hand in hand with like ethnicity and the religion. It's all very close together.
Yep.
Because it's, I think, of the religion and ethnicity. So I'm like, I don't know if you can just join like that.
But
And I could be wrong. I have not done my research, but from what I know, they're pretty strict about that.
yeah. And I think from what I know of Islam, it's more of like they just do whatever. And if you're interested, that's how they're like, oh, well, you know, instead of going around and being like, hey, do you want to learn more about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ? Like, I don't think they do that. I think it's more of like they live their lifestyle. And then if you're interested by what they're
Come
doing,
join us. You're
then
welcome
yeah.
to. Yeah, I don't know.
So I like the Monopoly analogy. I thought it was very clever, and I liked his little Jar Jar Binks thing. I liked his Lana Del Rey Radiohead type of thing too. I liked how he went about talking about the similarities and how everything's kind of like a copy of a copy of a copy. So then you get to the point where it's like very diluted in what's true. I like the idea of trying to find a one true religion, but I don't think that's possible.
I feel like just the whole concept of religion to me, it's so human coded. I feel like I can't get past the fact that I can't trust anyone, you know? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. How would you find the one true religion? I don't know. Because the minute I'm convinced, just like Mr. Reed said, the more you know, the less you know. And I feel like that's true on like every sense. Like once you start digging in and learning more, you realize how much you'll never ever gonna know. And I feel like that's kind of a part of it. Yeah. Like part of it is this not knowing, which I think is like the concept of faith, is you are believing in something or you're putting your faith into something that you cannot see, you cannot prove, you cannot feel. It's just what you do. So I don't know if it's what you find. Like I personally believe that there is a higher power. I don't really know what that means. You know, I don't know what that looks like. I feel like there have been a lot of other people's opinions that have been given to me, and it's hard to navigate that versus how are you perceiving. But then on the other hand, they're going to tell you like you can't go off of what you think. You have to go off, you know, this or that or that.
Right.
So
I do like that concept that he was bringing up too of like this has all kind of been fed to you, like especially Paxton, like she was born in the church. This is everything that she's known and everything. And then like the other girl, like she can we talk, hold on, the blueberry disease, embarrassing.
I didn't know if he really misheard. That threw me off. I was like, what is this scene?
It was very uncomfortable, and I read in an interview with the writers that actually did happen. They were at a dinner party and somebody was like, my grandma died of Lou Gehrig's disease, and somebody across the table was like, blueberry disease, who wouldn't want that? So that's why they put it in the movie.
I said, this is gold. Could you imagine being the one who accidentally misheard and they put your ass in the movie?
You put me on blast.
I would never cross that again. I'm already probably horrified. Like, you know, this is gold.
Boy, yeah. I feel like that's something that would keep me up at night for the rest of my life.
Oh my God, I would
just thinking
never.
like, why the fuck would I say something about blueberry disease? Like,
but even then, if I thought someone said that somebody had died of blueberry disease, I would assume blueberry disease is a nickname for something. And I like, why would you then make fun of anything? If somebody passed away, I'm like, I'm not making a joke.
Who wouldn't want blueberry disease? My grandma, bitch. Yeah, that part took me out. But what we were talking about before is him saying like, you're kind of being fed all of this information. So how do you know like this is true? Mm-hmm. Like, how do you know that this is like the right religion if you've never really tried anything else?
Yeah.
And like the girls had different experiences. Like Barnes was saying that her and her family her and her mom was going around to different churches trying to figure out what fit best for them. And then Paxton was born into it. So I like that influence of something that you're really not going to ever escape. Like you're always going to have a little bit in your mind what you've grown up with or what you've heard. And so it's like finding out what's really true to you, I feel like is damn near impossible because we're not born in a vacuum. We have so many opinions from our loved ones. If we went to church, then from people who went to church, and then the internet, and then everybody else like shitting on church. And like, you know, they're surrounded by so much dialogue. And I was wondering like when this was taking place. And then like those girls were making a TikTok in the middle of the street. I was like, oh, present day. And then they fucking pantsed me. I'm going home.
That's crazy. No, throwing hands.
Oh, immediately pushing you into a car and then going home because I'm distraught.
A moving view.
Because, bro.
Because how dare you pants me in my
For
pantaloons?
what, bitch?
Did he make a comment about that though?
The magic underwear?
Yeah. Did those girls, I couldn't remember at the beginning, say something about her magic underwear?
Yeah.
I was like, how did he know? Did he know?
About that? No.
Okay. Because I didn't know if it was supposed to be like he sees all or something. I'm like,
I think it's just a common conception
magic
with
underwear.
with Mormons and magic underwear.
He did gag her though. He said they even tell you what underwear to wear.
She said, what do you mean? Say the code word, bitch. What kind of underwear? Magic. But yeah, I like that idea of like never really truly finding your own voice in anything because we're so influenced by everything. And then you hear like the naysayers and people making fun of you. Like they were talking about the South Park episode and how that girl was like, well, some of the songs are
Broadway
funny.
play.
Oh,
it's called The Book of Mormon. It's like an entire Broadway play.
But I don't know. It makes a good argument as to like what do we believe in? What can we trust? Like I like Paxton's last thing where she was like, it's how it makes you feel. Like that's what's most important. That's how you know something's true. And I think that's probably the best way you can go about it, because thinking about it logically obviously can spiral you down a path where you could kidnap 2 women, put them in a cage, tell them to eat some pie, and call it a day. I hope I never get there. But if I do, it wasn't me.
I'm too lazy for any of that.
There's something so beautiful about being able to research for like a hobby. I love that.
Why does he just be a professor? He should have, honestly, he probably could have touched more lives, reached more people, and just been a professor.
He could have been the professor.
Fascinated in his class.
He could have been the professor from God's Not Dead, where he's like, I don't believe in God. Prove it to me. That's like his whole thing.
Don't remind me of that movie.
I thought it was all very cute and put together well, except for the like last third act where it was like, what are we talking about? And then it ended.
But at the end, because I know there's a big question, she prayed. So did the Lord answer her prayer by him getting his brain hit by Miss Barnes, which is probably unlikely. She was out for quite a bit.
Yep.
But who knows? Or did he kill her? Or did she die before this? But it was interesting when she jumped out the window.
Yep.
If you notice, it went in close to her phone.
Yep.
Her phone still didn't have signal,
Yep.
even though she'd escaped.
Yep.
So does that mean that she never escaped?
That could mean it, or it could take a while for her to get service. Also, it did just snow.
Also that.
So
That's why I couldn't tell.
I don't know how Colorado's
So
set
maybe
up.
it's
Who knows?
that. Was it Colorado?
Yeah.
Okay, couldn't tell.
I did like, I don't know, it was a weird juxtaposition where he's like, pray for us. She's like, well, actually, I read this story where like prayer doesn't work, but I think it's beautiful. Our Father who art in heaven.
She said all those people, they all died the same. Our Lord who art in heaven.
Who art.
Also art in heaven.
But I don't think she's dead. I think she got out. I think
she did.
You think she's dead? Why do you think she's dead?
They also described like the blue clouds. They were like talking about the in-between world.
Oh, yeah.
And so it just seemed very that. And then
That's true.
the butterfly, and she had like hallucinated it. So either that or she just hallucinating because, you know, she's been through it. And
dying.
she's like,
yeah.
I don't know. See, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it seems very plausible that she wouldn't make it out because that man was literally going to kill her. So we're going to say that. But then I guess it's that thing. Could it have been divine intervention?
Right.
Could it have been she died?
Who knows?
Does prayer work?
No, apparently not.
Well, for her, maybe.
Maybe it did this time.
Or
After
maybe
she shat on it before she started doing it.
I'm
Imagine.
sorry. Oh, you meant.
She said, prayer actually doesn't fucking work, but God, please help me in this situation.
Maybe it doesn't work if they know there's an experiment. God's like, nah,
He said,
what you're doing.
Science is getting a little too close. Hold on.
Yeah. Can't have them proving me.
Right. I don't know. I pictured that the big question is if the butterfly thing was a real thing or not. I never considered if she died or not. I assumed that she escaped.
That's why. Because if it disappeared, She's just hallucinating.
That's why I
Or
was thinking it was like,
her
that's
wishful
why
thinking?
it was reminding me of Saint Maud, where it's like she had her reality, but we see the truth of it, which is no butterfly. Because why would there be butterfly? It's literally storming. We're in winter.
Or was it her friend? Some people were saying it might have been the spirit of Barnes.
Yeah, I think that's what she was picturing for sure. Like that was Barnes giving her a little kiss.
God, or some kind of a sign. I guess the whole thing is kind of like whatever is real for you is going to be real for you.
Yep. I think it's so crazy how much our mind can play on reality, and like how if somebody were to tell you that you're crazy, I don't think you would ever really understand that. You won't see it. And so it's like in Saint Maud, she was literally hearing God talk to her. No one could tell her otherwise. She literally heard his voice. And like with these girls, like, you know, she had her experience watching that porno where she's like, I knew in that moment God was real.
Because this is terrible.
Because she's having a bad time. Yeah. So I don't know. It's very much like your perception on things. And I feel like if you are really going down a manic spiral, like Hugh Grant's character, like I don't know if anybody could have told him different that this isn't the right thing to do, is to have these scientific experiments and see what happens. Like that is the godly thing to do, is to figure out what humans, his creatures, would do. Isn't that what he's doing? Isn't he figuring out what we're doing? Isn't he living through us? Who knows?
Well, it's like he was playing God in his own mind, because he's like, this is you even, I mean, obviously in the situation they're in, he's telling them you have the illusion of choice, but really you're doing everything that I'm suggesting to you. And then he made that the bigger picture. Like, is that not what God would do? Like you think everything is happening according to your own will, but then you find out that it's just a bunch of carefully calculated moments that have led to you to this point.
And is that fate or is that manipulation?
Yes. Is something moving things around? Is it truly your free will? Is it a bigger hand at play?
Right. Or is it the people around you manipulating situations so that you continue being in doctrine? Who knows? I think it's a beautiful thing. I'm just kidding.
But it is, who knows? I mean, I know that there are people who feel that they have the answer, or that they know, and that's how their truth, and that's perfectly fine. But I feel like as I have learned more, I totally agree that I learn less. But I don't have this overwhelming urge to be right, because I think it's an answer that it's something I can't fully answer. But I do agree with Paxton of like, how does it make you feel in your soul?
Not
like just that. Like you're hungry, you know, you're hungry, so you eat, but like truly, how does it make you feel?
How does it resonate with
as
you?
a soul?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
anyway. But yeah, religion is a crazy thing. That's what I've taken from the movie and this conversation.
It is. But I thought it was very thought provoking, and I don't think it was done like in bashing of anybody or anybody's religion. I think it's just taking like 5 steps back and going like, what is all of this? You know? So obviously I don't think Mr. Reed is all the way there. I don't think he has his theories fully fleshed out.
He doesn't. She was able to poke some holes, but I feel like also I remember seeing a lot of reviews talking about they were able to stand toe to toe with this man. I was like, sometimes, but a lot of the times he was like steamrolling them with information. I think it's also a testament when you have people who are young and are very on fire and passionate. That's what you get. Not because they're dumb, not because they're wrong, not because of this, that. It's they're literally brand new to young. This. Yeah.
And to your point, you have this man who is thinking very highly of himself, manipulating clearly just women, young, or at least young people. We don't know who he has or hasn't done this to, but it's like, it's obviously not a fair battle here.
No.
And he knows that. And I think that's what he's banking on, because it's kind of like, to his point, when you get people who are so down, either they're very naive, they're looking for something, they're looking for it to be a part of something greater, or they're very down on their luck. Because I remember even when I was younger, anytime we would do outreach to people who were in more unfortunate situations, it always did bother me a little bit that we tried to bring God into it, because it felt very manipulative. Like, I'm going to help you, but now you have to hear me awkwardly tell you about whatever it is I want to tell you. And it doesn't seem as genuine. But they're not going to the rich communities and doing it. You're never going to see somebody going door to door or going to places where people are like well off and this and that. And I don't know if it's because they think they don't need as much help, or is it because they're not as vulnerable, receptive, if they will say. But that's another thing. You're going to bring these girls in here. They don't know a lot. Like, he's doing the very thing that it's like he's, again, you know?
Right. Because he did it. That's what he was saying about the girls in the cages, where he was saying that's exactly like what happens whenever people go to Haiti and like talk to them after a disaster, and they're like trying to get them to believe in something at their most low moments. And that's what you do. That's how it works. That's how it kind of all works, where it's like you have to get people so desperate, so needy that they'll turn to anything. Not to shame religion, but I mean, that's kind of,
it can be
that's
that
how you
way
sell it.
sometimes.
Yeah.
That's just a fact of life.
Yeah.
When you're down on your luck in a lot of ways, you're in a vulnerable position too.
Yep.
Now, if you feel like it really has helped you, I mean,
that's valid. That's a valid
there
experience.
you go. Like, I'm not going to tell you that that's not true for you, but it is. Sometimes I did feel like it was can be predatorial.
Yeah.
When you are specific. Now, if you go somewhere and you're helping out of the goodness of your heart and you do your best and you leave, okay, but to go there with the intention of helping people and then spreading, it seems like, well, why don't you go spread the word at the mansions?
Yeah.
Never going to do that.
Right.
I know the people are poor and needy, which, yeah, but it's that thing of like, why do we always associate poor people with needing the religion?
Yeah.
When I'm sure
they just need money.
No, literally, they're hungry.
They just need stuff.
They need money. They need homes. You're going to all these other countries, building homes or doing whatever it is you're doing for your little missionary trip.
Yep.
And then you like hold them hostage in a very
the word of God. It's like, no, can I just have...
Do you want to ask Christ to be your Lord? Of course, sure, whatever. Like,
sure, but where's my check? No, I'm just
no, literally, sure, I'm starving. Please don't not feed me. Like,
yeah.
Anyway, so I mean, I'm sure I can go on a rant. So.
I think
but it was another point in there.
There's good things and bad things that happen in religion for sure. There's
there
people who are probably doing it out of the genuine goodness of their heart.
And there are, yeah.
But I think there's also an element of it that seems a little predatory. And I think that's what needs to be called out, because if you are uncomfortable with something, then maybe that's something that you need to look into. Like, why is it making me uncomfortable?
Yeah, why is that bothering me?
Yeah.
But like when you're younger, you don't ask because it's like,
yeah,
something's wrong with me.
Yep.
Is my spirit, then you think, am I like having some bad spirit that's making me think these thoughts, which is what they tell you. So then you're like, you never know, because it's like, oh, is my heart not in the right place? Why am I thinking that this is bad? So I think that's
why some people see this as like a little bit of a cult, where it's like you are kind of trained to think in one way, and if you start thinking another way, then that's a bad sign. That's something that you're doing wrong, and you need to repent.
They got to redirect you.
So,
like, oh no, those are the bad thoughts that come from the bad places.
Yeah.
You don't want that, do you? And you're like, no.
Actually, I don't want to go to hell, so you're right.
Yeah. So it's this thing. So it's kind of like just learning, like you said, or what Paxton said is like how you feel, but it's like how you feel. But to your point, how do you know what you feel if how you feel has always been
influenced by literally everything else.
Yep. Like even now, things I'll say and I'm like, oh my God, am I going to get like struck down? Like it's just the thing that will always, like you said, linger. Like it's very strange.
Dang, life is crazy for multiple reasons, but religion is one of them.
Yeah. But I thought it was very thought-provoking. I really enjoyed the conversation as a whole.
Me too.
But I would really love to see like a conversation of two very intelligent people on the both sides. Because I feel like almost every conversation I see, whether it's on the internet or it's like those older men that go to the college places to like get you and gotcha on these like 20-year-old kids.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's not fun. Yeah. Like, boo.
That's what I kind of wanted a little bit more. Because like when people are like, oh yeah, they're toe to toe with him and blah, blah, blah. I was like, it would have been better if it was somebody who was a little bit more well established in the religion and also not maybe questioning things. Because like Paxton didn't seem as confident in some of her answers. Barnes was like, no, like the reason why we don't do polygamy anymore is like this, and this. Obviously things that she's heard, maybe semi believes. I feel like she was on the fence of believing the entire time. But since I am more familiar with the side of like dissenting religion, because like I wasn't raised in a church or anything, I wish that the opponent he had was somebody who's a little bit more familiar with their religion to push back on it a little bit more. Because I feel like the arguments they gave were like, well, if you just vibe with it, then it's fine. I'm like, oh, well, that's not. He's literally bringing out Monopoly boards from like the 1800s. Like I was
ready.
He was like, I've been waiting for this my entire life.
God, no one stopped by for years.
So I don't know. I wish, because I already kind of agree with what he's saying about religion, I wish that the other side had stronger opponents.
I agree.
So it made it easier to be like, yeah, religion is kind of fucked, when it could be more of like, well, maybe it's more of a
this, that, this experience, this, that.
Yeah.
But I also see, because I see what the movie was trying to do, because I feel like because they were so naive and not that they were manipulated in the end, but more easily manipulated.
Right.
It's just a testament to like, this man is being predatory.
Yes.
Like the thing that he's trying to prove against is this very thing that he's perpetrating, which is taking people who are putting him in very desperate, vulnerable positions and trying to make them think certain things and trying to pull things out of them. So I don't know if he's trying to I guess he's trying to prove that point of like, it's really just control, and I've controlled this whole entire situation, which is what your lives have been. So I don't know if he's trying to do that. So I get it in the context of this movie, but I do agree. I wish that I could really see a very civil argument between two people who are knowledgeable in what they're talking about. Because I don't mind hearing, like, it's very interesting to see people's perspective, because it's like, people have experienced different things throughout life. So it's interesting to see, like, why do you choose this or why do you choose that? And what are the good cases for both? And usually it's somewhere, what I found is a lot of things tend to be somewhere in the middle. But I do agree with that, because it did felt like not as satisfying, because you felt like they couldn't give their full,
because they didn't have the language for it. They didn't have the vocab for it.
But that's the point. Is they don't have it. They're not prepared. Yep. And because of that, the unpreparation, not over their own fault, they've just been doing what they've been told, but they're easily manipulated. Or could be. They weren't in the end, but
I will ask, because I was going to ask you this at the beginning. Are you glad this didn't go a paranormal route?
Yes.
I thought you would be happy.
Are you happy? Or you were waiting for some
it's fine. Either way, it's fine. I mean, I think it being slightly disappointing tracks with like how life is. So, I mean, would I have been mad if there was like Satan? No. But
no, stop. That's the cop out.
Bring him
in. No. Not the claps. Behind door number 2.
Satan.
No, I literally was glad they didn't go that route. Kind of like in Immaculate. I was kind of glad they didn't go the paranormal route, because I feel like it's always that route, but then it's nice every now and then to be like, people are just insane.
Yeah, that's true.
Just a breath of fresh air every now and then. People can literally be the paranormal horrors that we were worried about.
Horrors.
Mm-hmm. The horrors.
But yeah, what do you give this movie, Hayley?
Is this a horror scale?
No, it's a movie scale. Out of 5.
I give it a 3.5.
What do you think could have made it higher for you? Like, what were you disappointed on?
I think it did get a little cheesy when she was like putting everything together really fast.
Especially because she did not seem to ever be that confident.
She didn't seem to be that kind of fast thinker. Unless it's saying under pressure. But I think there were moments where I think it did get a little silly out of hand. Now, we can't explain that away with maybe some metaphorical, they were doing this and that, which is fine. But I think there were things that I kind of was like, they're introducing things that I don't think are being fleshed out, that were just kind of confusing me. So I think what would have made it really good if things could have been fleshed out a little bit better.
Yep.
But I also recognize that part of the movie is you just don't know. That's why I gave it a 3.5. So I think there could have been room for improvement, but I'm not going to hold it against the movie. I think it was still overall a very good film. So
yeah.
What about you?
I give it a 3 out of 5. I enjoyed this movie a lot. I think my favorite parts, like it was right before they went to the basement. So I think that was cool. But after that, I was like, girl, I don't get it. And then for it to be like, it's all about control. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Oh, shit.
I wanted more. But I don't know. I like the idea of it being ambiguous. Like, if you think that she did get out, is the butterfly real? Was she hallucinating? Is it a sign from God? Is it a sign from Barnes? Who knows what's really real and what's not? Or does it even matter at the end of the day? If you experience that, is that your truth? Sure. I feel like it got messy, and I think that they really had a strong start, and I think that's how you knew they did the most research on this particular point. And I feel like afterwards they were kind of like,
wrap it up.
We're going to get there, and I think we should do it in a little bit where it's like a little disappointing, but like it's about control, and then like it's ambiguous as to like
up to you.
Yeah. So I think that's where it kind of like lost me a little bit, and I feel like it could have been better with that part. But I still loved it. Maybe it's because I love these conversations. Tristan and I have these conversations all the time. I heard points that I've heard before. And so it's like cool to see that being amplified on a movie. Because it's like, oh, I've had this conversation in my own home. So it's cool to see that being reenacted. I just wish that the arguments on the other side were a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
Anyways, if you love religious horror or just religious horrors... then you'll love our Instagram at Hayley and Kayli. But yes, we have a TikTok at Hayley and Kayli where we have other content such as movies and hair and whatever else we want to do. But what else do we have, Hayley?
We have a email at presspodcast@gmail.com if you want to email us any of your comments, questions, concerns, or any of the movies that you recommend.
And let us know down below what you thought of Heretic. Were you hysterical for the Heretic?
Nope.
Let us know your religious trauma down below as well.
Please write the dissertations.
But I really want to know, for people who are still like super religious, what did you like? Do people go to these movies? Like, if I'm in the church, am I going to this movie?
I feel like some people would, but I don't know if they would be offended.
Right.
I feel like it wasn't offensive.
But
I feel like it was bringing just more questions, but I could see like if you don't want to hear that.
You don't.
Because you take it personally. You feel like it's an attack against you,
Yeah.
your soul,
You're
your
trying to make
spirit,
me feel
your
like I'm
people.
stupid?
Yeah,
How dare
you're trying to steer me clear.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Exactly.
I don't know.
So if you are in the church, let us know.
Please, I would like to know if
I
you
wanna see
enjoy the
that.
conversation or if you feel like you were uncomfortable by the movie. I don't know.
But anyways, we don't know what we're going to We don't know what we're going to be talking about next time, but stay tuned and we'll talk about it together. Till next time. Bye. Because it's no longer spooky season, so we don't do spooky fingers anymore.
Whack. He would have got me.
Good to know.
Not gonna lie. He'd be like, "Yes, she's alive." Ah! At the end, when she was like, "It's not real," I don't think I would have caught on that she was like trying to hint at me.
I'm going to be honest.
I didn't hear what she said.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know what the fuck she was saying
She was
the
like,
entire time.
I'm like,
I was like, is she good?
I think she's, sir, I think you created a zombie. I don't think she's alive. I think this started World War Z. We
No,
need to get
for
out here
sure.
now.
That's why I couldn't understand a word she said.
I
So
don't know
I'm
what the
glad
girl said.
they were repeating because I was
She
like,
was
thank
like,
God.
She said this, and this.
I was like, you
"We're
got all
blessed.
that, girl.
Thank God the Lord transcribed for you that all I heard was rah, rah, rah.
No, for sure.
That would have been in vain. He would have been lost to me.
For real. I'm like, I really don't know what she said. It was a lot of, and I'm like, let's try again. And so he brings her out and has her eat the pie again.
We're going to do it again.
The
I'm
whole
like,
other one.
girl, I'm sorry.
Tell her to speak up next time.